Welcome to the Bible in 1 Year with Ochudo Ayi, and I'm your host, Ochudo Ayi. All right, so today is day 198. We're making great progress, soon be 200. It's a bit warm here, away in the weather. All right, so welcome. If you're joining me for the first time, I I'm not a pastor or a priest. I'm just someone who loves God and wants to know more about the Bible. So I took up the challenge to read the Bible through in 1 year. I feel like I'm sweating. Just give me a minute. I took up the challenge to read the Bible through in 1 year, and I decided not to do it privately, but to do it with an audience. That would give me some type of that would give me some type of accountability. I'll take it more seriously, and then it will be fun to do it not alone, to hear the views of people. I'll make my own interpretations and hear their own interpretations as well. It'll be fun to do that, and I've been getting great feedback. I've gotten a lot of people ask questions about the Bible. I've gotten some people say, "Oh, I'm more." The way you tell the Bible story is very interesting. All right, so that's basically why I'm doing it. Every single day I leave the scriptures that we read in the description box, and every single day I try to tell the stories. I retell them. I give my insights if there is one to give. I share my displeasure if there is one to give. You may be happy or not with my interpretation. That's okay. That's up to you. You could read it for yourself. And I I and every single day I'm evolving. I'm finding some major pillars of values that I'm applying to my life. If you watched me yesterday's episode 197, I think that's one of my favorite episodes. Yes, that's one of my favorites so far. I just enjoyed the conversation. It was so clear to me. All right, so let's get to today. Today we're looking at First Chronicles. So every single day we follow the Bible guide. In it, we have the Old Testament, a New Testament, a Psalm, and a Proverb. We're done with the Psalms because we've covered Psalms. We're still covering Proverbs, and then we look at an Old Testament and a New Testament. So today we're looking at Chronicles 24 to 26. We're looking at Romans 4, and then we're looking at Proverbs 19:15 to 16. All right, so very quickly, I'll just get through Proverbs so that we can get that out of the way. Proverbs 19. Makes it easy. 19:15 to 16. I just read the Psalm and the Proverbs. I'll probably do a series on that later. My thoughts. It's so rich that you can't really mix it here. Laziness casts one into a deep sleep, and an idle person will suffer hunger. 15 to 16, yes. He who keeps the commandments keeps his soul, but he who is careless of his ways will die. So that's Proverbs chapters 19 verses 15 to 16. So now, luckily our Chronicles is a very short chronicle today because hello Quita Mango. Good to see you. All right. So we're looking at First Chronicles 24 to 26. It's short because it's a long list which I have chosen not to read, not to write. Aaron, so if you remember yesterday, there was a whole structure that David set up for his Nepo baby and Solomon. I actually titled yesterday Nepo baby. Just there's such a Nepo conversation going on right now. Anyway, so Aaron's line, which is a priestly line, were grouped according to Aaron's four main sons: Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. If you remember Nadab and Abihu, they passed on very early. They didn't even live in the wilderness. They didn't have time for that. They passed on very early. So lots of lots were cast for 24 people, and they were served in Moses's appointed order. There was a way Moses. So there's a long list, names written. I didn't bother to write the names, so you go check it out if the names are important. There's a long list. There was the way Moses appointed them, so that it was written in that order. Zadok and Abimelech led the priests and the Levite families. Musicians were selected. Remember yesterday there were 4,000 orchestra. Musicians were selected. A long list was drawn up, 284 of them, from the Levite family. Lots for duty. Yes, so lots were cast. Yes, lots were cast for duties, and up to 24 of them musicians were selected. Then gatekeepers were selected as well. Teams of security men from Meshlemiah's families, 7 sons from Meshlemiah's families, and 8 sons from Obed-Edom. Do you remember Obed-Edom? Yeah, the guy in whose house the ark was kept for a bit. Yes, 8 of his sons, strong, outstanding men, were selected, and then sons of Husa were also selected as gatekeepers. The total was not given, and I didn't bother to count it. So that basically covers what was discussed in the book of First Chronicles 24 to 26. I'm happy that that's a short one. All right, so now we go to Romans, concluding what we continuing what we did yesterday. So we've talked about all the Jewish beliefs, the Jewish laws, in comparison with this new righteous claim that Paul says Jesus has brought to us. That if we believe in Jesus, it cancels out all our sins, and God views us through righteousness. We can't do anything to really earn God's righteousness. So Jesus has to give it to us. God has to just say, Jesus died for you, so I've cancelled your debt. Come on board, stand on the side, and stuff like that. So the Jews keep asking, so what of Abraham? How does he fit into this new way of thinking? So Paul continues. So if you read the book of Jews, what I think I understood from it was Paul was making very bold and strong arguments with the Jews in Rome. I think that the Jews in Rome were more sophisticated. They were not quick to just get angry, pick arms, and say, away with his head. So arguments back and forth. God placed him in Rome, and he had time to really, really dissect a lot of the arguments in written letters. Okay, so how can Abraham fit into a new way of thinking and new way of looking at things? So I wrote here, if Abraham got God to approve, Abraham got God's approval, he could easily have taken credit for it. If Abraham didn't take credit for God's approving of him, because he knew that he didn't really do anything to earn it. But it's God's story, not Abraham's story. In scripture, we read that Abraham entered into what God was already doing for him. So hi Praful, hi from India. Nice to meet. I hope I will come to India soon. Yeah, I hope I'll come to India soon. So this is a podcast about reading the Bible through. So we are reading the Bible through. This is day 198. At the end of this year, we'll have covered the entire Bible following a very structured plan. So that's a summary of what we're doing here. All right, so let me try and break this down the way I understood. Okay, so basically Abraham, God was already doing something, and God was looking for who to partner with. So he chose Abraham, not because Abraham was like a good guy, but because Abraham was willing. You see, I feel like in all that I've read, there's just a willingness. Like David was so naughty. David went to war so many times and shed so much blood that God had to say, don't build a temple. Thank you. I love that you're thinking it. But still, God said David was a man after my heart, because David really, really loved God and made it very clear to God. My toddler is here. Hello, boo boo. Come and say hello. Hello. And he's showing me his car. All right, so mommy is doing something, okay? Just give her a break, okay? All right, so let's continue. Bye. See you later. Bye, darling. Okay, so my toddler visited today. All right, so basically, let me try and stick to my notes. Abraham entered into what God was doing for him, and that was his turning point. He trusted God to set him right rather than trying to be right on his own. As a hard worker, you know that you don't consider your wages as a gift. If you've worked hard, you don't consider your wages as a gift. But when you know that the job was way more and you'd never be able to get it done, and then except by trusting in God and something happened and God enabled you to do it, you know that that's a gift, don't you? Basically. So luckily, those whose crimes and sins, so basically that's what this whole thing is. That's what Paul was explaining. That's what this whole belief in Jesus is a gift. You are going to have to walk your way several. You can't even walk your way. You can't earn it. You can't keep the laws enough. Come on, guys. Is there anyone here that hasn't broken a law? You can't keep it enough. And then in some religions, they'll even say, Because when I was young, my father dabbled into what is called Ekanka, a new age religion, where they believe in reincarnation and all of that stuff. And so, in order to explain this thing, they explain that look, you have to walk your way and your karma and all of that stuff. So you have to pay back. So you reincarnate over and over and over again until you pay back the crimes that you made. So Paul is saying that's why Jesus came in and cancelled it all, because man, you can never pay it. No matter how many times you choose to reincarnate, if it's true, no matter how many times you choose to keep the law in one lifetime, you will never be able to get it right. Just believe in Jesus, and that cancels a major part of your spiritual issues on earth. Okay, that's what he's done here. So he's saying that you don't expect it. That's a gift. So those people that choose to believe, they are lucky because their crimes and sins are erased, and God doesn't keep score. Gosh, wow. You know, you learn twice, when you read it and when you are trying to explain to someone else. It's for me because I'm not even going to try any longer I grew up being a very moralistic person, but there was a freedom that I had once I knew that it wasn't, I'm not, if I ask God for something or God is using me, it's not because I'm a good girl. Not that I want to be naughty anyway. So do you think you're righteous because you're circumcised? That's Paul still fighting with the Jews. Abraham lived long before the issues of circumcision. You know that, don't you? Yet he was pronounced right by God. So this is not about circumcision, because the Jews were like, he's not circumcised. Salute, I'm gonna cheer my outfit. That guy, he's not circumcised. He has no right. He has no access to God. So Paul is like, no, those beliefs are cancelled. Sorry. And then the famous promise of Abraham that he would possess the earth wasn't given because Abraham did something. When God says, I give you the earth, Abraham was like, yes, sir. Even when Mary, if you read through the Gospels, we've done the Gospels like a couple of months ago. If you read through the Gospels, you see that when the angel showed up to Mary and said, you have a child, she didn't say why. No, I don't believe. Or she just said, all right, I believe. And that belief is like settled the matter. There's a strong power of belief. Like believing in certain things, they give you access. If you believe that your father is your father, you have access to him, you treat your relationship with him, you treat it different, you have a different attitude. If you don't believe, there's a manner in which you lay claim to things, right? Belief is such a key. Belief is such a key. So Abraham's famous promise that he will possess, it wasn't given to him because of something he did or something he would do, but because of something he believed, based on God's own decision to put everything together for him. Something that Abraham entered into when he believed. Belief, so powerful, so powerful. So what I'm taking away from today is that we must believe. The belief makes a difference. Belief is like the egg who was fertilized by the sperm. And the moment one sperm entered and his head locked in, something covered her. I believe he has entered, and I am with child. And that belief adjusted how she viewed herself, and that film came and shielded her from other sperms. Belief. I believe it so strongly. If anyone knows where I can, okay, I think AI is available now to help give some expression to some of my imaginations. I think I'm going to work on it. Thank you all for joining me today. It was a short one today. We did it in 13 minutes. That's awesome. I'll see you tomorrow. And please leave something in the comments below to let me know what you think about the story. Share it with someone you think you know who would be curious. And subscribe to my channel. Make sure you turn on the notification button to know when next I go live. I'll see you tomorrow.